That's true.
Good evening, Rockland, and welcome to the school committee meeting of Monday, May 8th, 2017. First on tonight's agenda is acceptance of minutes. We have one set of minutes from the meeting of April 24th, 2017, and we also have a meeting of April 10th, 2017 that we're going to be opening for amendment. First of all, the meeting minutes of April 24th, 2017.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain.
And on the meeting minutes of April 10th, 2017, Mr. Mills?
Right, on the, those minutes there, we talked about the last day of school.
Yep.
And one of the things that wasn't annotated in here is that Jefferson, we hadn't decided on.
Correct.
Jefferson. So I want to open up those minutes because that, I'd just like to make the change that Jefferson will be 6/22.
Correct.
and
June
for a half-
22nd for
a
a half
a
day. Correct.
Okay, add those to the minutes and then re-vote on those.
Got it.
Okay,
Got it.
make amendments to that.
Motion. Tom, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a
Yeah,
second?
second.
All
Okay.
those in favor?
Aye.
It has a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing nothing under correspondence, tonight under audience, we have students and teachers here to talk about their trip to Guatemala and from England, Ireland, and Scotland. Dr. Crunch.
Yeah, come on up, please.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Welcome back.
My name is Mel Shaughnessy. I'm Amanda Lanigan. And I'm Hope Geary. We're just gonna run you through a couple of pictures from our recent trip to Guatemala. We did a lot of really great things while we were over there. We had 2 travel days and 5 work days, 4 work days and 1 free day. So we have a couple group pictures under an avocado tree outside of the hotel.
These are some of the artisans that we met with. We worked with them in their home and we learned how to utilize the water filters, which you can see there, and we trained them on how to clean them in their home, and then we dispersed to the community, into different community centers to deliver them.
This is one of the big trainings that the group did where the students actually got to teach one-on-one women in the community how to use and care for their water filters so they could provide their families with clean water for 10 years.
It was really great because our students were doing this all in Spanish. It was completely self-directed, so they were training the families, and they were actually able to provide about 50 families and 486 people with clean water
For 10 years.
for 10 years.
Wow.
Which is
That's
a huge
amazing.
undertaking.
Wow.
Yeah. they did
One
a lot.
filter?
Huh?
One filter, or there's many filters? You have to keep
So
on
they
checking.
provided filters to individual homes and schools.
Mhm.
So each family gets their own filter. The typical family is from 8 to 15
Mhm.
occupants. And
Right.
we also brought filters to schools to use in classrooms.
Okay.
So in total, if you total up all the students and families, you have about 486, a little bit more people.
Well, but how long does the filters last, 10
Filter
years?
lasts 10 years. yeah.
Wow.
And the students train the families on how to clean them to ensure that they last that long.
Okay, so they have, there's user maintenance on it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
yep.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
I think overall we had over 70 filters that we assembled, trained the kids in, and then the
Wow.
kids used those filters to teach the families and
Oh.
the teachers.
Yeah.
Good.
They did a lot of good work.
Yeah. This was our one free day. We originally had 2 on the calendar, but one of my favorite moments of the trip is that the kids unanimously voted to forego a second free day and instead spend their free day working in villages. So we ended up giving 6 families water filters that otherwise maybe would have had to wait a little bit longer to get filtration systems. But we did enjoy some horseback riding and kayaking in San Pedro.
You guys voted to
Yeah,
do
so
that.
the kids, we had everyone close their eyes and they all sat in a circle and they raised their hands about whether they wanted to spend their day working or spend their free day just doing free day things like exploring the lake or whatever. And unanimously they chose to spend their free day working, which was amazing.
That's
Good.
Yeah,
Rockland proud right there, guys. That's awesome.
for sure.
So this is some images of a school that we went to. I think it was in San Marcos, where it was their first foray into interacting with large masses of children. We didn't have any toys except for 1 ball to play with them, so we did like a lot of tag and spinning them in circles. It was really fun, but like exhausting.
Spinning
It was really
what
awesome
in circles?
because,
Spinning,
the kids,
Them.
spinning the kids in circles?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
love being like picked up and just like butt around. So, yeah. A lot of our kids said this was their favorite day. They literally just, I think it was because, I mean, I was the same way. We got to be children. We were just literally running around playing tag. And these kids don't have the same attention that the kids here get. They don't have like a small classroom ratio. They don't have adults at home that will play with them. So to have our kids just kicking a ball, or in some cases an empty bottle, around the playground with them, the kids in Guatemala, they will never forget this day. They loved it. They loved our kids. So it was really cool. Great representation of Rockland.
Sounds like our kids love them too.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So on the fourth day, this was originally going to be their free day, and instead they voted to split, and we did 6 deliveries. We split into small groups for this, and we were able to have a very intimate conversation with the families that we were delivering filters to. Something that was interesting is that these families really didn't speak any Spanish. So we learned a lot of Mayan dialect while we were there too, some Kachikau, which was interesting. And then in the evening we had a traditional Mayan meal prepared for us in our hotel by a very nice Mayan lady and her daughter.
Yeah, and this day was really cool because the Mayan language is actually a dead language. It's only spoken in these small villages around the lake, and it's not written down anywhere. So the kids actually got to communicate in and experience a dead language, and then they got to interview individual families in their homes and see how they lived. And not only was the poverty astounding, but the gratitude of the people was astounding. In the group that I worked with, our kids, they were moved to tears in one of the homes by the gratitude of the family. The family was talking about how they lived there for generations and they had never had access to clean water, and how our kids had brought it to them. So it was really just this incredibly moving day to see.
It's a great use of a day, for sure.
All because the kids voted for it.
Was the village close to the ruins?
No, we're not close to the ruins. The ruins are about an hour and a half away from where we were. So that was one of our thoughts for, when we proposed for next year, if we can knock down our travel days a little bit, if our flights aren't so terrible, we might have an opportunity to go to the ruins. But the ruins are about
That'd be
an
a
hour
good
and a
idea.
half away. But the people themselves are pretty much Mayan
Right.
ruins. They're preserving their Mayan culture. Everything that they weave is like a traditional story, and it varies from village to village. And you can actually, and the kids learn this, you can tell what village people are from based on the cloth that they wear and how they do their hair. Because it goes with their traditional Mayan heritage. It's pretty incredible.
Did they get to cook any food or eat any of the Mayan food, the
So the
village
kids,
food?
we have a day where we have a traditional Mayan chef come to the hotel, and she cooks for us, but we have her come to the hotel because it's just cleaner. She uses purified water and all of that. So the kids got to eat a traditional Mayan meal, which is there, and they got to make tortillas, and they could help with the cooking if they want. Most of them were busy Snapchatting with the cook brings her daughter, who's this 5-year-old little doll. She's so cute. But the kids got to run around with her and Snapchat, which they liked more than cooking, which is fine.
So what is the food?
So traditional Mayan food, what we ate, the dish is just rice, chicken in a broth, and then jamaica juice, which is this really sweet juice that they make, hibiscus. It's made out of hibiscus. Then there's potatoes and other vegetables. It's actually pretty it's pretty bland. It's kind of like chicken soup without the broth.
Almost
So.
like a braised chicken drumstick, kind
Yeah.
of, so.
Any plantains?
We didn't have plantains there,
Okay.
no, but when the kids went out to dinner, some of them ventured out. A lot of guacamole was consumed. Rockland likes guacamole.
Yes,
with
a
their
lot.
eggs.
So this was our last day where we traveled to Peña Blanca. For those of you familiar with the documentary Living on One, this is the exact same school that the documentary crew filmed at, which was a really powerful experience for all of the kids. I think out of the 12 that we took, 10 or 11 had seen that documentary during school time and done a Guatemalan financial study in previous years. So here we got to deliver filters, I think it was to 25 families. So this is the first group of women that are pictured right here. One thing we also got to do was try on the traditional traje, which is the clothing that they're all wearing. It's very bright and hand woven, so a lot of the kids got to dress up in that as well on a different day.
And another part of the day, which is my personal favorite part of these trips, we go to a cave and do a traditional Mayan ceremony. So the cave that we go to is a sacred cave that the Mayans have been using to worship and perform their ceremonies since pre-recorded history. And we have a shaman come and perform a Mayan ceremony, and the kids get to witness it and participate in it if they like. So they got to, you have a little hike down there, and then you go into the cave and perform the ceremony, which is really cool for the kids. It's something that you would never see anywhere else. And what's really cool about the school that they went to that day too, a lot of the families that came down are from villages that are high up in the mountains that no NGO works with. So if it wasn't for the work that these kids did, they would not have gotten access to clean water, because no other organization goes up into the mountains. So we set up a situation where the families could come down, get their water filters, and then the organization gave them transportation to go back up. So, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thought we'd cap it off with just a couple of pictures from the hotel, and like downtown in the city. It was kind of a culture shock, I think, for the kids to be working in impoverished communities all day and then come back to like a beautiful place to
Yeah.
stay. But we did have a lot of conversation with them about how important it is to have a safe space where you can come back to after an emotional time and just kind of decompress a little bit. So the hotel was phenomenal. The trip was amazing. My favorite part about it was just watching the kids become better humans, like watching their worlds grow in a way that I don't know how else they would have had the opportunity to. It was really cool.
Well, that was gonna be my question for our student. Sorry, your first name again was?
Hope.
Hope. Hope, I want to know a couple things. First of all, what was the biggest challenge of the trip for you? But I also want to know what you learned about yourself on the trip.
The biggest challenge for me was definitely going into the homes themselves. They're very unsanitary, and you can have like 15 people living in one small shack. And in one of the houses, actually, there's a lot of like more power with men. There was 11 people living in a house, and 2 men were sleeping on the one bed, and 9 women were sleeping on the floor. And it's definitely hard to see how it's so different from like here. And what was the second question?
What did you learn about yourself? What was kind of what?
I definitely became a lot more grateful for everything that I have. Like coming home was like really hard. I'm definitely getting along more with my family, just feeling a lot more grateful. And it made me really want to go back and do it again because I loved it.
I think what's, for me anyway, what was really special about knowing that you all were going to go on this trip, I mean, all foreign travel is great. I mean, you get to go experience other parts of the world and see different people and cultures and things. But I think something about this trip that's a little bit different is instead of looking outward, you look a lot inward. Just a little bit about what you just said, about you know, the kind of gifts that we have that we take for granted every single day. You know, we're sitting here in a beautiful school with an amazing television studio where kids are well fed and we have heat and air conditioning. And you kind of forget that that's, you know, really pretty important stuff that a lot of people in the world would really love to have. And I'm sure for you guys, this was really, and not just the students, for the teachers and the chaperones on the trip as well, that I'm sure that you took a lot from this and you grew a lot as a person as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Great, good stuff.
Is the living generational? In other words, do you have 2 or 3 generations in the same house, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Really whole families, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents.
Some of the
Everybody,
gaps
yeah.
ranged, I think the biggest gap was we had a 3-month-old baby, and I think the oldest grandma was like 92.
And the older people are
Couple
probably held in a higher respect than, say, in this country, more similar to China and countries like that.
Yeah,
where-
for sure. One of the artisan homes that we went into, the first picture that you guys saw, the leader of that home, Rosaria, she pretty much organizes all the operations for the village and anything that we want to do, any movement up into the mountains and stuff, we check in with her first. We say, okay, what families are in need? Can you take us there? And she hikes up the mountains with the rest of us. We actually had to take like a break at one point because we were so sweaty and disgusting and about to die and hot. And this little old woman's like running up the mountain in her sandals. And she was like, do you guys need a break? We were like, yep. She was like, okay,
Take
we're
some
only
water.
halfway there. Great, awesome.
How about wildlife? You encounter any different wildlife, I guess? Hope.
Not really. There's
No iguanas or anything like that running around? Bush chickens?
I mean, no, the area that we're in, there's not really, I'm trying to think if there's anything. There's like
There's a lot of dogs.
lots of dogs.
A lot of dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thin, very thin.
That's what,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a butterfly sanctuary next
Oh,
to
okay.
our hotel that
Oh,
we
all right.
almost visited, but the kids wanted to work that day, so we did that
Okay.
instead.
Oh,
No little critters.
no.
No, not really.
One spider.
Yeah, there was
Oh.
a
Oh.
spider,
Fine.
but that was.
We handled it.
So
I would not
question
have been
is,
able to handle that.
Uh,
Spiders are my limit.
When you all were
No,
planning
that's
this committee and this meeting, we had a lot of healthy discussion about this trip and some concerns that we had as a committee about it, making sure that it was safe and just the logistics of it. And I'm wondering, and now that you've done it, now that you've done it quite successfully, I wonder having done it, is there anything that you would do differently or something that you would do logistically differently next time, having been on the ground and learned? You know, this is a unique thing for us. Rockland hasn't done too many service trips such as this one. And it's very exciting, so I'm just wondering what you might have done differently next time.
We've had a lot of thoughts about that.
Mhm.
For one thing, we're considering proposing next year's trip in June, so that the kids will have more time to apply and fundraise and go the whole summer and start fundraising for it. Another thought that we had was we looked at the airport shuttle transportation. We were not a fan of, so we're looking for alternative options for that. Also kind of the structure of the week in terms of our free day was like our second day there. So at that point, the kids were so excited to be there and so excited to work that they didn't really want it, so we would push that back a little bit later. And I don't know, what were your...
I mean, all things considered, one thing that we talked about a lot on the trip was retrospectively, we were so thankful for those healthy discussions because anytime we may have almost had an issue, there was already 5 plans in place. So
Yeah, we were very, very prepared.
We
which is
respected
awesome.
that.
Yeah, we kept saying, yeah, we were so grateful for all the preparation and talks that we had done.
Yeah.
So, what would you change?
Good.
The only thing I didn't like was having to take a shuttle into the communities. It wasn't bad, it just kind of looked like we were showing off almost.
Yeah.
A lot of people were just looking at us like they don't have anything and we're coming in with this huge shuttle bus. It would have almost
Not
been
a
more
spaceship.
respective to
How
go in
far
on,
were you
like-
away?
What was that?
How far was it from the hotel to the,
10 minutes.
Like 15 minutes.
15.
oh, you could have walked then?
Yeah, it'd be a long walk with a lot of water filters, but
Have the water filters take by to the bus, and then you guys walk in.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or at least stop about, half mile before you get into the village and walk
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good plan.
Yeah. The other thing, would you go back to the same village? You have affinity to that same village, or would you like to go someplace close by, but if you spend more time there, you could go see other things, yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely go back to that same lake. There's so many villages on the lake, so
Right.
and everyone is kind of different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you go back to the school and see one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, right.
I love the schools.
Yeah.
Well, we're proud of you.
Yeah, that's good
I
job.
think that just taking the initiative to do a trip like this is a really big step in the first place. And it seems as though you represented Rockland and our United States actually on a larger scale very, very well. I think that you learned. You mentioned about the bus and feeling a little bit ashamed of what we have, and I think that gives us a little bit of an opportunity to pause and really be grateful for everything that we do have. So good stuff.
How many students went?
12.
What was the breakdown of grade?
Most of them were juniors, except for we had three seniors.
Right.
And what was the cost that the kids had to come up with?
12. So in total, it was 12 plus flight, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so total it was around 21 or 18. Yeah, total it was around 18. And then
And
they
then
brought
spending money.
$200 to $250 worth of spending money. So total about 21, which is one of the reasons, again, why we want to kind of propose in June, so that they can spend all summer roaming the streets, asking for money.
Learn something by doing, right?
Hope, how much money did you spend there?
Well, I actually made a GoFundMe, and I raised over $1,000
Yeah.
for my trip.
I'm talking about the money
Oh,
that you spent right there.
Money I spent there?
Yeah, probably not
Um,
much.
Well, I transferred over $250, and that ended up being like $2,000
Right.
of their money, and I think I still have $600
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
You did good. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not too expensive.
Not bad.
Yeah.
That's fine.
The exchange rate
Right.
is very friendly.
Yeah, right.
to
Obviously,
America.
250 to 2,000.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Really,
Thank you
great
very
job.
much.
Proud
Thank
of
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I
Very
know
good.
we have Ms. Walsh to talk about the England and Ireland and Scotland trip as well.
How are you?
Unbelievable. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah.
We just have a couple pictures, and then I'm going to pass it to your student member, Shannon, because she was on our trip with us. We were lucky enough to have her. We brought 6 chaperones and 46 students for 8 days total, not counting the traveling days to England, Scotland, and Ireland. There's a couple pictures. This is Edinburgh Castle on the right with the whole group, which I think was one of their favorite days. We only had 1 day in Scotland, 1.5, I guess. And I think most of the kids said they would have liked more time there. It was beautiful. And on the left, it's a little tough to see, but that is senior Matt Dunn, second from the left, dancing on stage as a volunteer in the Scottish Ceilidh Night, which was music and dancing and bagpiping and an accordion player and a little bit of comedy mixed in. It's also where the kids could try some local food. Some were very big fans of the haggis, some not so much. Shannon, did you like it?
No.
I thought it was good. Some kids had seconds and thirds when other people didn't want to eat theirs, but this was a really great night just to see some of the culture and hear some stories, which was a perfect way to end our night in Scotland. And then on the left, we have one of our busier days in London. We hit all the hot spots, I think, but Buckingham Palace was definitely a cool thing for the kids to see. They got lots of pictures in front of that. This was one group one. London was, I think, a highlight for the kids as well. We stayed right downtown, which isn't always the case for our hotels, but it was absolutely worth it because we could take the subway just 2 or 3 stops to get everywhere. And it built us in a night where normally we would have had to bus back to the hotel 45 minutes. The kids were able to go on the London Eye at night and get that beautiful view of the city. So we did that kind of last minute when all the kids had really wanted to do it, and I think that was a highlight as well. My highlight was on the right. It was Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. I had never been there. None of us had, and Northern Ireland was a surprise, I think, from the teacher's perspective to see how interested the kids were in learning about the history of the conflict in Northern Ireland, which isn't something I think is focused on as much in American schools. They knew that there was a conflict. They knew a little bit about the religion and the history of that. But our guide we had in Londonderry was unbelievable. The kids followed him around like little ducklings, wanting to hear every word he said. He taught what could have been a really serious, dry topic in an interesting way. I think seeing these places that 10 years ago were so different, the kids learned a lot that day, but they also got to see a beautiful place. So I think Northern Ireland was the most interesting place we went to out of all of them, and beautiful.
I could see that.
But Giant's Causeway, that picture doesn't really give it justice at all because it's huge with the cliffs wrapping all the way around. The kids climbed everywhere. It's amazing how those stones formed in the lava eruption. Just a beautiful coastline. They all thought of Game of Thrones because they shoot it there. So that was a big exciting moment for some of the kids, but everyone behaved really well. They were on time everywhere we went, super respectful. They definitely made Rockland proud.
Very good.
Shannon, did you want to say your favorite part or something you learned?
My favorite part was definitely the London Eye. Like, that's just something I would never do. I hate heights, but
The big
it was
Ferris
crazy.
wheel.
Like, the view was spectacular. And what Miss Walsh said about Northern Ireland is so true. Like, I didn't even know about the conflict before we went there. It was so eye-opening to learn about it because it's such a big part over there, and it's crazy that, like, I didn't know anything about it here. And it was pretty cool to see in Ireland, like, the fact that they didn't have a need for guns, really. Like, you could walk into the president's house anytime. They were so open about it. And the president actually pulled up behind us at one point when we were on the bus.
Yeah, his motorcade went right by our bus in Phoenix Park in Dublin. And the Irish president, he goes out with one car and a couple motorcycles. And I said, that would shut down the streets in America if our president went by. And he said, they wouldn't allow it and moved on. Like,
Right.
citizens wouldn't care for that, so they don't do it. But yeah, very, very different, I think, seeing a lot of the way things work there, both police force, military. Kids definitely threw themselves into learning about the different cultural aspects of language, slang, where to go, how to behave at certain places that might be a little different here. They were great about talking to our tour guide or one of the local guides before they did something to make sure that they were getting the most out of their experience and trying what the place was known for versus going to a McDonald's or something, which can tend to be the case when they have free time for lunch. So I think all the kids came back with stories every day when we'd meet them after free time that they wanted to tell us. And at the end of the night, they were definitely tired and ready for bed, so that's always a good sign.
I'm curious about, did you, in anything that you encountered or in discussions that you'd have, experience anything about the Brexit? There have any impact about the Brexit that anybody, their opinions of the people that were there, or anything that you sort of encountered in your experience there in the trip that impacted you?
I know they talked about, like, the money a little bit and how, like, the Brexit was affecting the currency. Besides that, I don't really remember.
I have one important question to ask you, Shannon. Okay, is it Starbucks or St. Starbucks?
What is the second one?
Over there in England, it's St. Arbuck's, not Starbucks.
Oh, really?
Is that right?
I've
Yeah.
never heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Pulling your leg,
ST
Shannon.
Arbuck's, yeah.
I have a question for you, Shannon. You said you knew nothing about the troubles in Ireland.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
I always knew there was like conflicts between Catholics and Protestants, but I didn't really know where that stemmed from.
If you had the option to take a class on that, would you?
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Because I took an entire class on that in college, and it was one of my favorite classes. And for the record, I'm Italian. So typically I go Rome, but that class was,
And there's a local connection to that conflict, too. Out in, back then, one of the National Guard armories in Danvers was broken into. All the rifles, all the weapons were stolen, and they wound up in Northern Ireland.
Interesting, like a lot of the conflicts are all over
Yeah.
religion.
Yeah, it is.
They had an interesting way of talking to the kids about it and explaining the religious aspect, but then say, there's also, you mentioned Brexit, the idea of who was loyal to England, which were the Protestants, and who wanted to be their own Ireland and join with the Republic. And driving through the streets one day, you can see when we crossed under the Peace Bridge, which is still a locked gate, pretty similar to the Berlin Wall before it came down. It locks every night. And they said they don't expect the violence, but this is just an extra precaution to keep hooligans away from each other at night. But yeah, there were Union Jacks on one side when we drove through neighborhoods hanging from people's homes, and on the other side, the Irish flag. So
Wow.
you can still definitely see the distinct neighborhoods and sides of Ireland, or the cities like Belfast and Londonderry where we were. You could figure out what side of the debate they're on if they say they're from Londonderry or if they're from Derry, which I hadn't known at all until it was explained to us. It was
Some of the
pretty
masonry
interesting.
buildings have bullet marks
Mhm.
on them where they.
Yep.
it's truly fascinating too, because it literally, it was not that long ago. We're not talking
Still going on.
1776, we're talking the 80s, the 90s, you know.
In fact, some of it's still going on now.
Some of it's still going on.
Development's happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you were
Some of
born
those
and it
folks
was
have
still
long
going
term
on, like it's,
Absolutely.
you
Right.
know.
And I think
so-
Brexit's bringing up that conversation. Scotland has the referendum to try to become an independent nation
Right.
as well. It didn't pass last year, but that came up while we were traveling with the Scottish guide as well, that it's probably going to be coming up again for another vote because of Brexit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there in the next few years, and I think the students will follow along with the news a little bit more,
Great.
having been there, so.
Well, Rockland students and faculty doing us proud all over the world. Thank you all. That's great. That's great to hear, and we learned a lot through you. So, thank you.
Thanks for the
Thank
feedback.
you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
That's for all what your teachers do too.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Next under audience, we have a daycare and after-school daycare update.
Okay, I'd like to invite Gina Tate, our daycare director, and Marissa Baldessari, our assistant daycare director, up to speak about all the great things that are happening at our daycare, after-school programs, and camp.
Perfect. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to share how our year has been at the Rockland Daycare. This year has been an exciting rebuilding year for us. A lot of work and time has been spent reorganizing the center from the ground up. Starting with the office, Marissa and I have rewritten and organized all policies and procedures for the daycare. This was important for us to do because when families come into the office, it is their first impression of the daycare. I want the parents to know that we are an organized and professional team that cares about the needs of each family as we welcome them into our program. The daycare office has been updated with a child-friendly atmosphere in mind. We have received so many compliments from parents and even vendors. We have also made more efficient plans for tuition collection and scheduling, helping us to keep better track of our budget. Our mission is to streamline the payment process. With the help of Colleen and Tim Wells, we are researching this new software, and we have been working to find an online payment server, which has been interesting, to say the least. This will definitely be an asset for the daycare. I am incredibly pleased with the teachers at the daycare. Our team building training in December helped us to bond together as a program. We have grown as a team through our trials and accomplishments. The many dedicated employees that we have helps to make operating the center efficiently and smoothly. I know I can count on our team to lend a hand when needed if someone is out sick or on vacation. I am pleased to say our attendance record has greatly improved this year. I think the staff value their role as educators and know the importance of stability for the children in their care. This year, we offered 16 hours of professional development per order of the contract. More than 50% of our staff exceeded that by far. They worked so hard to begin their recertification process for the CDA, which is the Child Development Associate Credential. The staff went out on their own to take workshops that just interested them and pertained to their classroom. We have been working with SEEP, which is the Southeast Education Professional Partnership, to develop individual education plans. I truly believe that because the teachers' work has been taken seriously, they feel validated as professionals, and it can only foster positive results in the classroom. Having support from the administration helps our center achieve a higher standard. This is something that we work on each day. With the help of SEEP, we will be working on a self-study of the center and individually. By joining SEEP, we are eligible for 3 types of funding: for low-cost education at specific colleges and trainings throughout the Southeast, money for materials in the classroom, and money for education tools in the center. My goal over the next 2 years is to take us to a level 2, which would help us to collect an extra 2% on our subsidies. We currently have 18 vouchers at the center. I'm excited that we have started the process with Rosemary, our SEEP coordinator, and she has given me wonderful feedback on the staff and our program. This year, we have made some changes to our curriculum. After each workshop that we participated in, I asked the staff to incorporate something that they learned from the training into their monthly curriculum. For example, we did an excellent training on nutrition. Now each month, the classes have incorporated healthy eating or food projects. I also need to add that the librarian from Rockland, Erin Pulio, has been doing a story time every other week for our infant program, which was a great addition for them. Mercer and I attended a fantastic training on behavior management. We brought the information back to the staff and had the trainer come and do a mini workshop. We all are now trying to implement a more positive behavior strategy in the center. We all enjoyed it so much that we will be having Meg Thompson from the Fitzgerald Institute for 8 trainings next year. The staff who dedicate themselves to this process will earn 3 CEUs, which is equivalent to 1 college course. This will help some of our staff to achieve their lead teacher status. One of my biggest accomplishments this year was opening the new preschool 2 classroom. It was a project that took some careful calculations and a bit of a risk. I am pleased to say it's paid off. We have 19 children enrolled in that new classroom. We hired a new lead teacher and an assistant teacher. The curriculum in that room is amazing. I love walking into the room and seeing the kids exploring and having so much fun. It is nice that the kids will only have to spend 1 year in each classroom. Before opening the new classroom, kids may have been in the pre-K class for 2 years, essentially repeating the same curriculum. One of the highlights of the year for me was participating in the holiday stroll. Seeing our community come together for an amazing night gave me such joy. With the help of our team, we brought smiles to hundreds of children. Our decorating cookies with superheroes was a huge success. The donations from the local businesses was so impressive. I truly appreciate that. We cannot wait for next year. We just wrapped up our community service project for the Situate Animal Shelter. Our families donated hundreds of items to the shelter. We held a Trolls family movie night last month and collected even more items. I have to give a shout out to the maintenance team for helping to hang our new movie screen, or this could not have been possible. Friday, we had Charlene and her dog Griffin from the animal shelter come to give the kids a demonstration on basic pet care. This was a nice way to wrap up our community service project. This summer, we are on track to have the highest enrollment ever. We currently have 107 families enrolled at the daycare. We have a wait list of 18 children for the different classes, and our infant program is huge. We actually have 10 infants waiting for next September. We will close the pre-K classroom for the summer as we have 18 children graduating from the daycare and moving on to kindergarten. They are happy to start camp this year and move on to new adventures. I do not anticipate a drop in enrollment for the fall. We will easily fill these 18 spots. This year has been a lot of hard work, truly rewarding work. Marissa Poller and I make a great team in the office. I think it is evident that our program is a valued program in Rockland. We currently serve 311 children in Rockland ages 2 months to 10 years old. I am incredibly proud to be the director of this daycare, and I am blessed to work with the families of this community.
Very good.
Thank you.
And publicly, I'd just like to thank you, Janet. Your hard work and dedication have truly brought the center toward being an early learning center.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job.
Any questions?
Yeah, I really kind of want to stand up and clap. I mean it. You know, 2 years ago, we ripped the hood off this thing.
Yes.
And it was a mess, wasn't it?
It was.
It was a mess. And these two ladies right here were very much a part of looking inward, figuring out what wasn't ticking right, fixing it. And now we are not only striving, we are thriving.
Thriving.
Families in town are buzzing about how great things are going up there. The highest enrollment ever.
Ever.
It's amazing from where we were sitting here 2 years ago.
Sure is.
It's remarkable. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it on your faces. Congratulations on your
Thank
hard
you.
work. Thank you for making our job a little bit easier in this regard. It was a little bit hairy. There were some hairy and anxious moments a couple years ago. We're proud of you. Great job.
Great. Thank you.
Great job.
Good job.
Anyone else?
I will say, being new to the table, I was familiar with what was going on because I had friends who had kids there. And I've been impressed with what I've seen since this has all started. I've watched it go this, I've watched it go up. I've watched your social media presence go crazy.
Yes.
I saw, this is not a pat in the back for myself. I saw a thing online, you guys were looking for a stroller. I had like 3 in my house.
Yes.
I brought one up.
Yeah.
The same
Thank
time
you.
I brought one up, 3 other people had brought
Yeah.
ones up.
Yeah.
You know, that right there shows how things are going in the right direction. And if you're talking, you're looking at the biggest enrollment ever, then hats off and keep it going, because you guys are doing something phenomenal there, and let's keep it that way.
Yes.
So-
Honestly, I've stopped advertising in a lot of spots just because we are getting calls for tours every single day. I don't even have room to put all of these kids.
All right.
Just thanks to you and your wonderful staff. It's a great success story. I'll never forget that one night in the lecture hall when we had probably, 60 angry people.
Yeah.
We've come a long way from
Come a
that.
long way.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Sometimes you need to go through difficulties to get to where you need to be.
That's
And
true.
Absolutely.
Shake
I
things
think
up.
we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
thanks
that's
to you
it.
ladies.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thanks to you both.
Marissa's going to speak about the after-school program and day
Okay.
camp.
All right. My name's Marissa Baldessari. I'm the Assistant Director for the Rockland Daycare, but I run the before and after school program at all the elementary schools, and I am the Director of the summer camp. Over the course of the year, Janet and I have been able to accomplish many great things together, and I am very proud of our success. At the before and after school programs, we currently have 204 children enrolled and 10 after-school staff. The after-school programs have been very successful, and the kids and parents have been given a tremendous amount of positive feedback. This year, we started providing enrichment programs for the after-school children. So far, we've hosted a Lego program with Wicked Cool for Kids, World Cup Soccer with Mass Sports League, Music and Movement with Mrs. Creedon, tennis classes with TGA Tennis, Art Club with Mrs. Pratt, Chess and Checkers Club with Mrs. Murphy, and Kids Yoga with Mrs. Castagnosi. All of the programs were a huge success, and I'm looking forward to hosting them again next year. Another reason this year has been so successful is because of the wonderful staff that are working at all of the elementary schools. They are a hardworking, caring, and determined group of people who I'm very proud to work with. Currently, I have 6 staff that are enrolled in college courses, and 5 of them have taken the initiative to complete the child development course in order to receive their EEC teacher certificate. Once the school year ends, all of the after-school staff will then work at summer camp. Over the last few months, I have been working very hard to organize a fun-filled summer for the kids and for the staff. At camp, we will be doing weekly enrichment programs, water play, arts and crafts, organized games, and Friday field trips. We have many exciting field trips planned, which always seem to be one of the best parts of the week. Over the summer, we'll be hosting more enrichment programs that the kids will attend. We're doing a Maker Shaker workshop, an Animal Adventures presentation, an Art Blast program, a program with Top Secret Science, Wicked Cool Vet School, Dig Big, The Funky Side of Art, Star Wars training, and a Wizard and Warrior adventure. I'm happy to be able to provide these programs, and I know the kids are excited about attending. We currently have 55 children enrolled, and my goal is to at least get 25 more by June. I'm looking forward to an exciting summer, and I can't wait for it to arrive. Working as the assistant director this past year has been very rewarding and enjoyable. Janet really has done an outstanding job improving the daycare, and I'm very thankful to work with someone so hardworking. The Rockland Daycare is a true asset to this town, and I'm very proud to be a part of its team. Thank you.
And I would like to say that Marissa has just started the after-school programs. She's just touched on it. She's doing an amazing job, and just lots more ideas for next year. And just to touch on the camp, there's free lunch and breakfast, no, free
Yeah, free
lunch and
snack and
snack
lunch.
for every child, and the after-school programs have free snack every day.
Yep.
Having some kids that use the after-school program, I can attest to the fact that Ms. Baldessari does a great job. My kids love her and love the
She
program
does a
over there.
fabulous job.
When this was first passed out, Mr. Phelps wanted to know if he
That
could.
was passed out in February.
Well, we just got this here today.
Oh,
Right,
yes.
Okay. That Mr. Phelps wanted a lot of information about the Wizard and Warrior training adventures, because he was
can come check it out.
really.
And I wanted to know about the Star Wars training. Can a 37-year-old go to that? I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
Definitely try
I'm asking for a
and join.
friend.
Your 37-year-old friend has a 34-year-old friend where you're going to.
I'll
Now,
definitely be there.
I have just one other question. You got a trip going to Legoland. You've been there before.
We've been there the past 2 summers, yes.
Okay.
It's
Because that's
always
an
fun.
amazing place.
It's a great time. They like it.
It is.
And this is on the website.
I think so. I know
The day
part of
camp.
it is, yes.
Registration is on the
Very
website.
good. Thank you very much.
Great job.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up on tonight's agenda, we have a literacy committee update. Dr. Cron.
Yes, I'd like to invite Karen McKinnon, Julie McDonald, Karen Duffy, Donna Wilbur, and Jessica Smith to join me. So as part of my, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
As part of my entry plan, I held forums in each of the schools. And the forums were meant to be general information gathering and question and answer. But one topic that really jumped out was some concerns about literacy, the curriculum. The sense that I had was that there were things that we needed to do, and we needed to do them quickly, and we needed to do them with the input of teachers. And so we assembled a committee, and all of the members who are listed here, I won't read, well, I guess I should. Julie McDonald, Kathy Ferry from Eston, Jess Smith, Eston, Karen Duffy, Diane Hayes, Janice Freites, Kristen Kalo, Wendy Caprio, Pam Sheridan, Kathy Sullivan, Jade Marslick, Donna Wilbur, Jackie Folsom, Erin Michael, Michelle Bissonette, Elaine Haight, Carrie McGrath, Kelsey Holbrook, Karen McKinnon, and me. We set out to meet 3 times, and we ended up meeting 6 times, and we met on their time. So a teacher from every grade level, from every building came together, and it was a lot of work. It was tense. And the beauty of the tension was that it was caused by passionate teachers who wanted to feel better about the curriculum that they were presenting, and they wanted to feel better about the outcomes that they were seeing or not seeing in students. And so I think it was 6 meetings. It was very hard, but I know it was one of the most rewarding things that I've experienced as an educator, as an educational leader. I can say walking out of that last meeting, I don't know if it was a week and a half ago, I just thought this was a very tense group that came together to do very important work, and I feel as though we accomplished what we set out to accomplish, but we also started something that I hope to continue. So very briefly, we had our 6 meetings, and we came up with a list of short-term goals and then long-term goals. And we did that by looking at data, by asking ourselves questions about the strengths and needs of our current curriculum. We use an approach to literacy called balanced literacy. It's, I think, widely accepted as the way the majority of schools in the state, if not the country, are approaching reading. It's a whole different approach than we learned, and it's also taken some turns, so now we have increased the amount of phonics that are in that program because it's something that was lacking. But our identified needs were that the district needs greater horizontal and vertical alignment. So for the folks at home watching this, the thousands of you that are at home watching this, what we mean by that is we want every grade 3 teacher to be teaching similar content. They don't have to do it exactly the same way, but we want to make sure that everyone has the same materials, the same what we call scope and sequence, which is the pacing of the learning. And we want that not only in grade 3 at Jefferson, we want the same thing in Memorial Park and the same thing in Eston. So getting these teams together was fun, is seeing them work with one another from different schools, because I think many of you had worked together and transferred. I mean, we have many, many years of experience here. So consistency among buildings, clearer expectations, what, when, and how to teach reading and writing. This ties right into number 1, but there currently is a lot of teacher prep required with the approach that we're using to literacy. So whereas 10 or 15 years ago you might have come in, had a textbook that laid out pretty much everything you were going to do and then you would add to it, the balanced literacy approach requires a tremendous amount of preparation on the part of the teacher. And what we were really looking at was, are we interested in getting more of a textbook approach, or are there things about the balanced literacy that we want to keep? So I'll tell you where we ended up. So structured grammar, structured vocabulary, and again, right now the way it's laid out, the teachers have to select the grammar and select the vocabulary, whereas with what they refer to as a basal, the vocabulary and the grammar lessons were just laid out. So you'd open the book, you know exactly what to teach. Our approach now is a balanced literacy approach. It requires the teacher to do a lot more work, but in turn it allows the teacher to personalize more for the students what they're doing. So there's pros and cons, to both. But we discovered when things were rolled out, when balanced literacy was rolled out, in hindsight, we needed much more preparation. There needed to be more professional development. And that was particularly true with a lot of teacher turnover. So you may, if you were teaching grade 3 for multiple years in a row, you would build up you knew what texts you were using, you had a wide range to choose from, but if all of a sudden you were moved to a new grade, grade 2, it was like starting over. Or if you're a brand new teacher to the building and you came in, you don't own all of these materials, you don't have them. So it was very, very confusing for them. So we know that we need more PD for anything that we roll out, but in particular, teaching writing was one thing that really popped. The modules. So in balanced literacy, we use modules. Karen McKinnon's right behind me. She knows more about this than I do, but I've learned a lot through this committee. Lucy Calkins, and again, within the reading and writing program, and how to select text and plan for guided reading. So that was what we wanted to target as PD. In the short term, our plan is to select and purchase exemplar mentor texts for grades K to 4 in each of the 8 units. So again, that sounds like some code for something bizarre that we plan to do, but what I think to every elementary teacher, they know exactly what this means. And what it means is we want a brand new second grade teacher to walk in and have a list of, this is the mentor text, meaning this is sort of the anchor for this unit. From that anchor, we have selected already the vocabulary and the grammar that must be covered. And we want to have that in place for each of the 8 units in all of the grades. So that's something that we need to do. We need to select the vocabulary from those mentor texts. And again, for folks unfamiliar, when I say mentor text, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a unit, there's one text from which you're going to draw your vocabulary, and you're going to all key in on this one book. It doesn't mean it's the only book, but it's important to have a common book. We want to purchase the level text for guided reading and ensure we have equal resources in all 3 schools. And we are looking at a writing program. We want to purchase a writing program to be implemented most likely at grade 4, but we're still discussing that. Being a Writer is the program that's currently in the lead. And finally, we want our literacy professional development plan to have a really strong presence in our district professional development plan. So literacy, teaching kids to read and write, the work that these young ladies do is just so fundamental to every discipline. It requires our attention, and it should play a big part in our professional development plan. So again, you've all seen some of these things with the big rocks and the little rocks, and if you don't put the big rocks in then the little rocks won't fit. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Next time I'll bring a big jar and I'll show you. But the idea is, if we don't plan for literacy professional development, it gets lost very easily. When Chairman Biggins came in my office today, I was sitting at my desk, and he might have known that I was annoyed because I was reading yet another directive from our local and state government with yet one other thing for us to do. Now, it's a valid thing, has to do with sexual education for kids, very, very important. But is that to take up the time that we need to do this work, teaching kids to read and write? Debatable. So we want to make sure that we plan for this work and we prioritize it. The long-term plan is to make this committee that represents every grade at every elementary school a permanent standing committee. I want this committee to meet at least twice a year, if not 3 times a year, to review our progress on our goals and to make recommendations and just to check in. They really put themselves out by being on this committee, and they were told from the start, I want you to represent the people that are back in your buildings. I want you to tell them the struggles we're having, and I want you to hear their struggles. And I feel like we're just a stronger organization today because of the work that they've done. There's more leadership in our district today because of these members, so I'm thrilled with that. Establish a continuous review cycle for literacy. We need a subcommittee to look at assessment separately and a professional development subcommittee to make sure that that work is being done. And what we also decided was, yes, I do think that we need to take a hard look at comprehensive literacy programs. So there are programs, one is called Journeys, one is put out by National Geographic. It has everything soup to nuts, the books, the vocab, everything laid out. I think that given our population and given the feedback and the work that this committee did, and also based on the recommendations of the elementary principals, we do want to look at comprehensive literacy programs, and our plan is to pick 3 and have a subcommittee that studies them next year, and I'd like a recommendation from them. And the recommendation doesn't have to be, let's buy one of these 3. It could be, we're good. Just we need to beef up what we're already doing. But it may very well be, and I anticipate, probably expect that this will be the case, that one of those programs will be recommended. And we're looking at $200,000 to $250,000 of an investment to do that. So I want to make sure it's looked at thoroughly. But that's the long-term plan. And again, so there's a short-term and a long-term, but these folks really are to be commended, and you're really to be commended. And Karen is amazing, and one of the things that Karen had to do this year was feel pretty much criticized every moment of every day, especially during these meetings. And I think we've learned a lot of leadership lessons through this, because it's very hard to have people critique. This is Karen's baby, and she has done a phenomenal job. She's one of the best I've ever worked with. But this is hard work when you have the teachers who are doing this work upset because they want more or they need more, and Karen did a phenomenal job. So anyway, I just think, so questions or thoughts or anything that you can share, because I'm tired of hearing myself talk. And
We are too.
yeah, I know you are. I'm sure you are. But is there anything that you can share? Do you feel like the work was useful? Is there anything? Are we feeling more hopeful? We know we have a lot to do. It's going to cost some money between now and the fall.
I think it just opened up a lot of opportunities for dialogue and conversations and hearing other people's point of views. And so I think just having the whole group together, it felt good to have the designated time to talk about these issues that are so important, that there's been lots of mini conversations all around the district about, but just bringing this group together I think was really helpful.
And I think that short-term plan was so important, so we don't rush into something and have that be the long-term plan, and we didn't really thoroughly research it. So I was really happy to see the short-term, but then also look forward to the long-term, to bring our reading program where it needs to be for the children of Rockland.
And both goals, I think, are a testament to Dr. Cron, because I think, I've been a teacher for 11 years here in Rockland, and I feel like finally we were able to come together, because as you said, from the 3 different schools, we don't often get to do that, that somebody listened to us, and, we're...
It was validating.
Yeah, we're in the trenches every day, and a lot of it is passion and frustration, but we finally had sort of a meaningful outlet to put that in, which it felt good for all of us.
Glad to hear you say that. My sense, on a previous item on our agenda, I commented about opening up the hood and looking up and seeing what's under the hood. And my sense is that we needed to look under this hood quite a while ago. And kudos to you, Dr. Cron, for realizing this was something that needed to be done. And thank you, all of you, for taking the time, your own personal time, to take a look at what we're doing and what we can be doing better. And I really like to see that this is going to be a permanent committee now. This isn't something that's going to be a one-time effort. This is going to be something that we're going to be continuing to look at and continuing to strive to do better. I think this was a need. Heard it from parents, heard it from faculty in previous years, and I'm just thrilled to see the work happening now, and it makes me feel good about the future of my kids going through our elementary schools.
Seems like you're still friends, too. Yeah, okay, that's good.
If I may, if I may,
Went through a lot of
discomfort.
Yeah,
It
it's
can
very-
never be easy to have a group of people saying, we need more, we want more,
Yeah.
because it was never anything against Karen McKinnon, but I feel now that we're a team versus, you kind of being on your own island. So it's to come to that consensus being your favorite word.
My favorite words, my favorite word.
It was really, as you said, uncomfortable, but powerful and validating and so hopeful.
And everybody on the committee is passionate
Yeah.
about literacy.
Oh,
So
good.
that, even add that to the mix. We all feel passionate about it, and we all want the best.
Just can I have a comment and a question? The comment is, you people are doing this in your own time, and you have to know how much we as a committee appreciate what you're doing. It's a lot easier to just shut the door of the classroom and go home. And for you folks to put in all this extra time, it's invaluable.
As
My-
you said a few times, Rockland strong.
That's right.
My
But this is an
question,
example of it, I think. I think this is a great example.
no,
And
absolutely.
it's very easy for us to just close our doors
right.
and do our own thing.
Yeah.
So the more uncomfortable thing is to throw all that dirty laundry out there
Yep.
and then see where we can improve.
Sit in a room
my
and
question
pass it
is, and it
back.
may not be an easy one, where does English as a second language, how much does it complicate this issue?
It actually,
That's
do you
the
mind if I?
vocabulary.
No, please,
Yeah.
please.
When we look forward at comprehensive reading programs, they all connect to the English as a second language program. Right now, they don't follow a set curriculum. I mean, they have curriculum from the standards from the state,
Yeah.
but they don't have anything, everything they do, well, we do too, we bring everything in ourselves. Everything would be cohesive
Really?
and work together.
Wow.
So if our kids are being pulled out for ELL, then they're working on the same vocabulary and the same spelling at their level
Boy, that's
that
great.
I may be working
That's
with a
great.
low reading group,
Good.
that
That's-
Jessica may be working with at the top reading
Boy,
group.
if-
It's cohesive.
If any community needs that, we
do.
need here,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
But that's a
it's-
comment
same
that I
special
hear from
education.
parents.
Yeah.
They have a concern in that area.
And that's why we have to depend on National Geographic and other companies, because we are not curriculum developers.
Sure.
That's not what we went to school for. and-
Absolutely. You're a teacher.
And what we would put together can't match what they've been able to do as far as
And the resources.
Well, that's exciting. That's great.
You bring up an interesting question. We were just talking about English as a second language and having the resources that you might be able to move them to different rooms to meet their different levels of needs. How about a child who might be gifted and might be in a position that he's reading above his grade level? Would this be something that would add a resource for them to spread their wings and grow as
Those programs
well?
also include resources for that.
That's great.
Well, and some of the discussions that we had are, you know, how do you want to spend your time? Like, when they say we don't write curriculum, they do write curriculum every day, but do we want them spending time lining up everything, or do we want them spending time thinking about the needs of individual students and how best to meet them?
Absolutely.
Do we want them looking with their colleagues at student work and saying, in this third grade class, you seem to have a lot of success here, and over here, I really struggled, and then they can share best practice. So I much rather have them having those kinds of conversations than calling their friends saying, oh my gosh, do you have a book for this because I'm out of ideas. So a lot of things came out. At the same time, if you go to buy a program, one of those 8 units could be 61 pages. And so the opposite end of the issue is, what don't I do? And that can be stressful to a teacher as well. Well, there's 61 pages, I better do all 61, or they feel like they're not doing a good job. So your job then becomes weeding out as opposed to pulling in. So there's a yin and a yang to it, and I think, like, especially for these 4 ladies here, they're experienced, and their frustration, they can do it. But their frustration is, well, what about this first-year teacher? Well, what about my colleague over here? And I feel like, so they're spending time helping them, which is great, and as it should be. But my question is, can we want to have the resources and the infrastructure in place so that they can be spending their time on the important things. So I feel as if we make these few purchases between now and the end of the year, we make some important decisions about what those mentor texts are going to be. We look at the writing programs, because grade 4 has the time to do that next year. We've rolled out this phonics program called Fundations.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, which they're so excited about, but it's all consuming, so you can't roll out multiple things in one year. There aren't enough hours in the day. So, I mean, I think I've learned more than any of them through this process, but I feel like we have a good plan in place now, and I definitely feel that we have some amazing teacher leadership in each of these buildings, and now I say on to math. Well, on to math, on to science,
And
right?
I can just clarify
Absolutely.
one point to go back to your gifted group. A teacher next door to me, we opened up our doors, and because we want to see every kid every day in a small group, we combined our kids. We looked at our data, and I have more of a background to fill in those gaps with phonics since I started in the younger grades, and she has sort of a knack for those top kids, so we've intermingled our 2 classes.
Oh, good.
But wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to worry about planning curriculum every day, and we could focus on pedagogy and actual teaching strategies, you know, for the lowest and the highest of our population.
Yeah.
It's really a simple idea, but really outside the box, right? I mean, instead of teaching within the walls, because those kids happen to be assigned to your room, you're teaching to the individual and that individual's
Right.
needs.
If I may, you guys all became teachers for a reason, right? It's not to sit there and do, okay, I got to do it this way.
It's not to get rich.
True. But it's to look at the kids in your class and tailor everything you do to each individual student. So, if I may, we seem to be borrowing favorite words of people. If I may borrow one from Mr. McKinley, how's the enthusiasm been between you guys now that you're steamrolling forward with this?
Amongst staff?
Yeah.
Amongst the
Do you
team?
guys feel like your enthusiasm has almost jumped a new level?
Oh,
Yes.
most definitely.
To know that we've been heard
Mhm.
and legitimized,
Makes
that's all
it.
you can do for morale. You
Yeah.
know?
But we have to make things. I've got to make good on these
You
things.
got to find the money,
Absolutely.
doctor.
You're
Find the money.
Absolutely, find the
You're
money.
making the steps,
Well, yeah,
which is,
yeah.
I mean, better than 8 years ago when there
Right.
if
Dr.
nobody was
Cron
making
and
steps.
Karen McKinnon still have to come to the schools and announce it to the staff
That's
the
right. What
the
our
steps
short and
are.
long-term goals
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but that's,
So,
Yeah.
I just had a question, and is that Are you doing common writing assignments and common reading assignments across the, no?
We have some
Are you
common
gonna be
benchmark
doing
writing
it?
Some
assessments.
Yeah, you're doing benchmarks, but you're not, like, between the different elementary schools?
Yeah,
We have a
that's
few-
one of
we
the
have a-
goals is to get them.
We have some
Okay.
summative assessments we're doing. We have DRA and DIBELS
Yeah.
that are across
Right.
the board. And then we have writing benchmark
But-
assessments, but not,
Right, this will allow for that.
this will provide that.
Right,
yes.
yeah, and the common reading assignments,
So
so.
books that I could choose in my classroom would be different than what the other three
Right.
teachers would choose. All of us with, a similar goal,
Right,
but,
right, okay.
not the same.
Right.
Lovely.
Anyway, I'm just incredibly pleased with this, the work of this group, and I appreciate all of these people giving their time. I think we're a better school district because of the work that
Amen.
that we did. So thank
Great
you.
job.
All right, we're gonna round of applause.
Great job. I like meetings where we clap a lot.
Clapping is good.
That's good.
Isn't it always?
Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you. That's been an interesting evening so far.
All right, next on tonight's agenda, under reports, we have monthly reports for April. Oh, I'm sorry. Superintendent's report. I almost skipped over you, Dr. Khan. Almost felt like we heard enough of you tonight.
You probably have.
No,
I
go right
know.
ahead, please.
I know. Okay, I will be brief. I want to thank the town of Rockland for, I would say, nearly unanimously voting to move our building project forward. I couldn't look. I was sitting in the front row, and when they started talking about it, I just sort of put my head down and listened and waited, and no one got up and spoke against it. I'm told the hands all went up. The enthusiasm is strong. Support from Town Hall has been spectacular. I'm so appreciative of our town manager, Alan Shaka, and our town accountant, Eric Hart, for being continuously supportive of our endeavors. It just feels like the town is with us, and we're with the town, and it was an actual statement by the town that they're in support of our work. So I was really appreciative of that, and I want to thank everyone. Jefferson Makeup Day is Thursday, June 22nd, so I'd like all of our Jefferson families to remember that. And again, that's a makeup from the day that we lost on March 22nd due to that factory fire.
I've already heard from a lot of excited Jefferson parents
I'm
about
sure
that.
they're
Yeah.
thrilled,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'll be there with you if it's any comfort. I'll bring some donuts. On Thursday this week, we had a phone conference with the MSBA, the Mass School Building Authority. Again, had Eric Hart, Ed Kimball, Rich Penny, Alan Shaka, and former Superintendent John Retchless join us in that. You were there. Sorry. I keep losing my space because I'm getting old and can't see without my glasses. Dan, you were there, and all of our elementary principals were there, and we learned about specifically what it is we're going to have to do in this first stage. So that's moving us in the right direction. And I'd also like to remind everyone this is National Teacher Appreciation Week, and tomorrow is National School Nurse Day. Not tomorrow, it's Wednesday is National School Nurse Day.
Be nice to your nurses.
I can't say enough about the work that our school nurses do, and
Me either.
but I'll tell you, I had the good fortune to meet someone who's a school nurse in another district that I will not name, and it's actually a charter school district, and this one nurse covers 6 schools. We have a school nurse in every building, and they are busy all day long. And Kathy Ryan at the high school does an exceptional job. She stays after so that she's there for our daycare students until 3 o'clock. And I just don't know how we'd get by without them, so thank you to our school nurses. And my final thing is, as we know, we have a seat available on the school committee, and I want to thank Dr. Melissa Morrow-Small and Miss Emily Harrison for submitting applications. We just received these letters of intent, so the committee will be given a copy of those letters tonight. We're going to look those over and discuss the 2 candidates, and then we will be working with the selectmen to call for a roll call vote to nominate and select one of these 2 folks for the available school committee role.
Could you just bring me up to date? What's the process?
So the process would be that we, up until this past Friday was the deadline, I
Mhm.
believe,
Oh,
Dr.
okay, I
Cron.
know that.
We're accepting letters from folks in the community that might be interested in being appointed to the school committee seat. And as of the deadline on Friday, Dr. Cron has,
Yep.
I believe, received 2 of those,
Two,
correct?
yep, 2.
And the next step would be that we will discuss with Mr. Chaka and the selectmen, setting a time to have a roll call vote to vote for one of these 2.
Let me just make a statement. I wasn't at the last meeting, and I don't know, this is the first I've heard of this, and I'm a little aggravated at it, that I wasn't informed of what the procedure was. I didn't see any mailings or anything like that. Because I had other people that I would have liked to entertain. I mean, I didn't see it advertised. Was it advertised? I didn't see
We
anything.
discussed it at school committee meetings, and I believe.
Just
there
one,
were-
I wasn't, it had to be just the last one.
No, I don't believe so, but.
Oh, no.
We can-
Okay, then if I'm wrong, it had to be the last one, because we talked about, there was word of it, but there was no final procedure that I know of. Okay?
Well, what happened, Tom, was that when Mr. Norris submitted his letter of resignation to the
Right.
committee as of April 10, I
Right,
believe.
right.
We have 30 days to submit the nominee to
Right.
the Board of
I
Selectmen.
didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay? We had discussed this. You and I had discussed this on the phone, but when you called me and told that Mr. Norris had resigned, is that was left, okay, now we have to come up with a process. I'm just now hearing about this process. There was no communications to me about this process. And I am really, really, really aggravated about this.
Well, we should go back and review and make sure that you did receive, because if you didn't, then perhaps we should.
I have not received, I read this stuff. I mean, maybe I did miss it, but I don't remember it. And I don't remember any phone calls. I remember having a discussion with you, Dan, about this, and we had talked about this, but that was just a discussion. But I have not received anything that I can remember, because I would have been actively involved in this.
Well, we should consider
Let's just go back.
what we can do within the law to rectify that.
If I'm not going to be included in this stuff, I'm really aggravated
Well,
about this.
and it says in the minutes of this last meeting that it was discussed, and I
wasn't
know
here
you
when it
weren't
was-
here, Tom, I know you weren't,
Yeah.
but you weren't here. I don't know what more I can say, and I understand where you're coming from, but it was discussed, and the procedure basically was gone over. It's
Right.
in the minutes.
Right. Okay. When were these minutes delivered to us?
They
Well,
were sent to you on Thursday. of
But the
last
I got them
discussion,
on Friday.
the discussion was 2 weeks ago.
Friday, okay.
Okay, what was the date on it? I got them. No, I just got the minutes now.
I know that, but
I'm sorry, Dick, I'm sorry. I'm just really aggravated. I don't
No,
want
I
to bring it up
understand you
anymore.
are. You
I mean, it says it in the minutes. I got the minutes on May 5th.
Well, yeah, the meeting happened on the 24th of April, and it's televised, and I know you weren't able to be here, you were sick, I understand that, but I don't know,
I'll resign too.
oh, jeez.
Come on. I mean, I don't get involved in any of this. I don't hear any of this stuff anymore. I'm really aggravated.
Did you and I have a discussion about it?
We talked about it, but we talked about it a long time ago. You called me the day that Mark attended his resignation and said, oh, now we have to come up with a procedure. That's the last I heard of it.
And I believe that the procedure was established at our last school committee meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed it, because I would have been involved.
Okay, sorry you feel that way, Tom.
I'm sorry I feel that way too, because, never mind, I'll talk to you about it later. Okay. I feel I'm getting blindsided. That's the way I feel lately. Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from the committee? Next on tonight's agenda, monthly reports for the month of April. We'll entertain 4 motions, one for administrators, one for guidance, one for nurse, and one for pupil personnel services.
4 motions.
4 seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's a vote. Thank you very much. Next on tonight's agenda, school newsletters for May. We have newsletters from the Eston School, the Jefferson School, Memorial Park School, Middle School, and the high school, all as typically very well prepared, very colorful, and very informative.
Very different.
And very different. Each have their own character.
To the point that one elementary school, we would have one newsletter with very similar things going on in one building. That's just a thought.
We learn something new every single time we get these. They're absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And next on tonight's agenda, building rentals for the month of April. Our buildings are staying busy and active, and we like to see that. Under old business, we have a request for approval for the 2017-18 Rogers Middle School Student Handbook. This is the second reading. We'll be looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's a vote. Thank you. Under new business, we have a request for approval for the 2017-18 Elementary Handbook, and this is the first reading.
Motion to table.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, we'll table that. Thank you, and that is a vote. Request for approval of the 2017-2018 Rockland High School Student Handbook, and this is the first reading.
Motion to table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That is a vote. Thank you. We have a request for approval of Freeland and Reela's Environmental Science for AP textbooks, and this as well is a first reading.
You want to read one quickly?
I looked at it real quick. AP Environmental Science, we now have that course, correct? And how many students normally in that course?
So this past year, the teacher voluntarily taught the class with 4 sample editions, and next year we're projected to have 10 students. So this proposal, the recommendation book, would be 10 of them we would need.
Okay. Well, the other support that the publisher give you with this is they have online testing or practice testings or any of that type of stuff. And what kind of experiments will you be doing or labs?
I don't think the Friedland, the cost that you see there includes the online. I think it's just the actual physical textbook.
Okay. But does it have any capabilities of giving you online testing, giving you some feedback?
I can look into it.
And then I'm sure there's an open response writing on that.
I know it does prepare you for the AP exam, so it should include all the open response.
And so is there any particular experiments or labs that have to go along with that?
It should definitely include the labs and the experiments, and the teacher does a lot of supplements according to the AP curriculum. The book does align well to the AP standards.
Okay. So, but the labs and stuff, do we have to pay additional for any of those labs?
You should not have to.
Okay. Thank you. A motion to table.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Just one quick, if this were to be voted, are we definitely going to buy the books?
Yeah.
How much?
Okay, because
10 votes.
we've done before, we vote textbooks, and then sometimes we can't afford them.
Right.
You know.
I would have to ask my predecessor about that, because I've yet to vote one and not purchase it.
Good for you.
Okay. Well, you're only going to, how many are you going to get? 10?
10?
Yeah.
As few as possible.
Maybe one more for the
13
teacher.
Right,
No, the
right.
teacher usually gets their own.
Right, yeah, one that's double the cost, right.
All right. So we had a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next on tonight's agenda, school choice. Dr. Cron.
School choice, at this point, I met with principals this morning. All grades are open for school choice. We're still obviously bringing in kindergarten. Certain schools may be closed, but it doesn't mean that say I'm full grade 4 at Jefferson. That doesn't mean we still don't have a seat or two available in the other 2 elementary. So at this point, K-12, we're wide open. So for those in the public that are interested in applying to Rockland for school choice, it's still an option.
I just want to compliment our administrators for using school choice the way that I strongly feel it is meant to be used. And that is to educate our kids, not to recruit kids to play soccer or football or any of these other things. It's great if they come in and they can do and be involved in those activities, but the main reason is to bring kids to our schools where they can be educated in a proper way and that they can be happy. That's the most important thing, and I compliment you, all of you, the principals, all of you on that, because it's not so in a lot of our surrounding communities. And I boil, similar to Mr. Mills was a minute ago, when I see this being mistreated, I really do.
Yeah.
There are surrounding towns that do mistreat that.
Metco.
Okay. Anything else on school choice? Okay, next on.
We need approval.
Need a motion?
Oh, no motion to approve?
Yes, motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. School improvement plan is next on tonight's agenda. Dr. Cron.
I asked for this to be on the agenda because with the district strategic planning winding up, just winding up now, the elementary, middle school, and high school principals feel that rolling out their school improvement plans in the fall, they would prefer to present them to you in the fall, and I support that with your approval, because they feel as though that would give them some time over the summer and beginning of the school year to sort of use that as a springboard as opposed to reviving everyone's memory from now. So I put it on the agenda just to run that past you, and I just wanted to get the committee's approval for that. I don't know if you need to vote or...
Well,
We will do it, we'll motion.
Okay.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That is a vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is special education summer school. Dr. Cron.
We have a special education summer school. It's, from what I heard this morning, fully staffed and ready to go. I don't have anything special to share with you about that other than Linda Maniglia told us this morning that she's very excited. She had only one para professional yet to hire to staff it, and so we are ready to go.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? That's a vote. Thank you. Next, request for approval of fundraisers, which we have two. The class of 2020 will be doing a pop socket sale in June. And the art department will be doing an Art Rocks project in August. We have a motion to approve.
Two motions.
Two motions to approve in 2 seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's a vote. Thank you. Next, public service announcements. Mr. Garofalo.
Yes. All right. I want to start off by saying how very proud I was of the town at the vote for this feasibility study for the new school. I think it is definitely the right step in direction for us. Between that and the 40R and Union Point, this town will be very busy and very popular in the coming future, and I am very excited. Also, Dr. Cron, loved what you did with the winter coaches. I liked your little RPS segment here. I actually think you should do more of those. Because as you know from our time speaking, I came here and I was in band and I was in football, and watching that and seeing Mr. Damon and Graz, and I watched Diana play, and I know Coach Flaherty, so it was very good to see. And then lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. Harrison for our roughly hour-and-a-half walk around the high school, chat, and watching some of the baseball game last week. That was very informative, very nice to do, and I'd like to thank you for that. So, and I'll be coming around to the other schools too, doing the same. So that's all I have.
Mr. Mills.
I also like to thank the town for their support. I also like to thank the town. It was a very enjoyable town meeting. You know, it was nice and quick. It seemed like that. Everybody got along, which is good. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing is that, hey, seniors, right? What do you got? How many? 20 days?
12. It's 11 days.
11
right.
days.
Right.
Senioritis.
Oh, they've had
You
it.
have
That
to
was
stop
back
in the cafeteria. They've
Okay.
built this elaborate permanent wood thing that's
Okay.
senior countdown. I walked in the other day. Where did this come from?
Right. Yeah. Who changes this? Janet does. not bad.
Mr. Parker, right?
Someone.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
Mr.
Well,
Parker
yeah.
helped build that.
How's your class? Is everybody okay on it? Getting ready? Are they all, is your class all ready to move on? Any of them are fearful about leaving here? Or I don't think so, right? Yeah.
So, like, I kind of want to stay.
Right.
One more year?
Easiest job you've ever had,
Right.
being in high school. That's it.
You don't have a red-shirted freshman year?
Mr. Phelps?
Well, I supported the town. Tom alluded to it, the doctors alluded to it, and it's great that they supported our efforts towards perhaps a new elementary school. But it's even greater that they unanimously voted the school budget. As they do for the last number of years, the town has always supported education, and that's what makes us, I think, very special. Other things going on, Pop's concert last Friday night was awesome. Representatives of the Boston Symphony Orchestra coming here, playing in our auditorium to, what I understand, a fairly decent crowd of people. Awesome that happened. A nice appreciation lunch, not a luncheon, but a get-together from the Rockland Ed Foundation to the teachers that were awarded grants this year. That was nicely attended. Mike was there. Sports teams doing well. Lax is finally, I think, on the map in Rockland. They're doing well. We've got a baseball team that struggles from time to time, but still respectful. There's a lot of good things going on, coming up to a great time of the year. Seniors, be careful, make smart decisions, because we want to see you all there on graduation day, as I'm sure you will be. Your conduct so far has been wonderful. Other than that, that's all I have.
Shannon, I did not mean to skip over you. Did you have anything that you wanted to tell us about from the student body end of things?
We're just all getting ready for the end of the year. Junior, senior proms next week, so everyone's excited for that.
I don't blame you.
Great. We're excited for you. That was my next thing, just big senior events coming up, end of the year activities. We really want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to have fun. We want everyone to really build memories. This is something that happens once in your life, so let's enjoy it and let's all get to the end safely and responsibly together. I too would like to thank the town of Rockland for the 2 votes on Monday night, both approving our budget and for the feasibility study to explore building a new elementary school for our kids here in Rockland. And to echo Mr. Phelps' comments for continually, time and time again, supporting education in Rockland. So with that, that's all I have, and with a canceled executive session for this evening, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is a vote. Thank you very much. Have a great night.